Hello everyone, right now the YouTube video. This YouTube video, honestly, I'm going a little bit blind because I'm going to be doing the American Civil War. This is a period of history that is much spoken about in North America. However, in Europe, I've seen the school curriculums and there's only really one AQA course that actually covers the American Civil War. So I thought, why not make a video on it? The American Civil War, also nicknamed the Great American Rebellion. So let's begin. So to start off the war with, the building up to it, I mean, like I said, the year was 1861, really peak of tensions. The Americans in 1803 had purchased the Louisiana Purchase from the French, a massive expansion of land in the east of the continent, now all belonging to the United States of America. They've also had the wars against Mexico in 1848, which again see much expansion to give America its modern day borders. So despite, of course, multiplying their land by about 6, of course they had the option, were they going to make these new slave states or free states? Now they decided that they would let them vote. However, this only really increased tension because pretty quickly they made it clear that they had free elections. However, the new Slave Act that was passed in 1860 simply stated that effectively every single African American in the United States of America, whether living in a free state or a slave state, now basically were still their old owned by their old masters and had to return to a slave state, or like I said, they had to have a record of them, which of course was a bit outrageous. I mean, hear anything like that now, that is absolutely would never happen. So that's where tension started to build. Now at this point, America was no superpower, and they definitely didn't have, at least at the time, they would think the manpower, the Confederates to start this war. However, many in the South were deep Republicans, deeply reliant on slavery and wanted it. So South Carolina seceded from the Union and followed Florida, Alabama, etc. until of course you had the Confederate States of America, which is where the war begins. The Union simply go by, they both use the 1781, of course, American Independent Amendment, or 1776, 1781 Amendment, to simply justify their cause. The Union used all men were created equal, and the South used, well, the Confederates used the right to own property to justify their claim. But of course, right to own property simply means slavery, but of course that is wrong. So not quite sure what they were going for there. But I mean, it's the 1860s. I guess this is just standard for them, but it's very, very wrong. So on the 12th of April 1861, the war began when the Union attacked Port Jackson, and thus the war began. So the Union led by Abraham Lincoln, and the Confederates led by Tom Jefferson Davis were, like I said, right at it and beginning to have battle. Now, at first it did seem pretty clear that the North would probably win. They had about a population of 20 million compared to the Confederates 8 million, and much more industrial and manpower. But not so much so. You see, at the end of the day, it's very, very easy for the Confederates to say, because of course the Confederates were fighting for their own, liberty, for like their own land, but the Union was just trying to attack people. And it's much more easy to make people fight for their own existence than just attacking. So at the first, the Confederates did have some luck. However, on the 1st of July 1863, the infamous Battle of Gettysburg happened, which saw 50,000 casualties in total, the biggest war up until that point fought on American soil. And it was the beginning of the turning point of the war, and the Union started doing much, much better at that point. And the Union did start, however, gaining some support, the Confederates did start gaining some support, actually from the British. Now, a bit ironic really, because the British had of course abolished slavery by 1832, and stopped even the West Africa Squadron to end slavery. However, they did rely on cotton imports from the Confederate States, which is why they would back them. However, they did never want to send any military supply to them, and it made it clear they would remain neutral. Austria also remained neutral in the war, despite also gaining some cotton imports from the Confederates. So the war dragged on, and however, on the 9th of April 1865, it did come to an end with a decisive Union victory, and Abraham Lincoln as the victor. However, he wouldn't have to wait for long, as just a mere few months later he was assassinated in a theatre and died. So yeah, and he also did actually own about 500 slaves himself. So yeah, pretty confusing to say the least. So what did the American Civil War really do in the long term for history? Well, it would give the Americans a long time to recover from the war. I would not see them emerge as at least a big world power until the late 1890s after the Spanish-American War. As for the Americans as a whole, it would prove them that slavery was now abolished and a thing of the past, which is of course good. And of course they passed the 13th Amendment saying that all slaves were free. However, it would actually take pretty much another 100 years, or 99 years until 1964, until Martin Luther King, of course, really stepped down on black man justice in America. And yeah, most of Europe, to be honest, other world powers were too busy trying to grow an empire to really care. Hence why so many actually died. Around 200 to 300,000 casualties throughout the American Civil War. Like I said, the biggest war ever fought on American soil, which is why I'm not surprised it's taught so much over there, as it definitely is something to remember. So yeah, honestly I must say I do apologise if I didn't use quite as many key facts as I have in my other videos, because this is a period of history, well, section of history I never really look too much about when I do the 19th century. I normally look at about empires, the Austria or the rise of Prussia. But I must say it has been nice to make this video and do something a little bit different. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please click like, subscribe. I have a little link, well, a little photo right here where you can find History Matters video of the American Civil War. I definitely recommend watching it. It's pretty good after you watch this video. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in my next YouTube video. Goodbye.